Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel for a battle report. It's been an absolute age since we had one of these, and I'm here with General Dan, and we are doing a battle set in the hallowed year of 1805. As you've seen in my new opening crawl, Star Wars style, I'm quite pleased with that one. But you can see the army we've got here. I'm going to zoom out and we'll see the whole army. There we go. And now I'm going to zoom back in and we'll have a look at the different formations. Now this is based on the 4th column at the Battle of Austerlitz, so it's a little bit of a chimera brigade. I mean, brigade's not the right word, but that's what we're going to use here. And it's got both French, sorry, it's got both French, it's got both Russian and Austrian units in there. So you get me, I'm getting so excited, I don't know what I'm talking about, as per standard. So on the 1st Brigade, the Advance Guard, we have the Apkaron Musketeers and the Novgorod Musketeers, 2 battalions of Russian infantry, and supporting those we have 2 squadrons of the Herzog Johann Dragoons. Now, with Austrian squadrons being absolutely humongous, we're just going to count those 2 squadrons. Normally there'd be 4, but we're going to count them as a medium-sized cavalry unit. So the main body of the Russian contingent is actually 3 battalions of Little Russia Grenadiers. Now, I don't have 3 battalions of Little Russia Grenadiers. It's unusual for me. I don't have many Grenadiers at all, actually. I'm going to need to paint some up. So instead, we've got the Guard at the front. We've got the Pavlovsky Grenadiers behind them. You know how much I love those. And then behind them, we've got a unit of Grenadiers. You can tell by their exclamation mark plumes, because despite this being 1805, they are wearing the 1812 uniforms, because that's just how we roll on this channel. And behind them is the 2nd Battalion of Novgorod Musketeers. They are supported by some artillery. I've got 2 batteries here. They're actually guard artillery, but for today, they're just going to be regular artillery. So that is the Russian contingent. Now we move over to the Heavy Cavalry Reserve. Now, the models so far, the terribly painted ones, they've been mine. These are General Dan's models, much nicer. We've got some artillery at the front, and we've got 3 regiments of cuirassiers here. Now, we're counting these as regular-sized units today. 9 figures for a regular battalion of cavalry. There might be some with 8, because I base mine in 2s usually, so don't worry too much about that. They all count as medium-sized. And then we've got another battery of artillery down here. And behind them, we've got, the big reveal, a huge amount of Austrian infantry. Now, anyone who's seen my videos on the Austrians will know I am not looking forward to fighting these guys. These are tough hombres. I'm not looking forward to fighting them at all. But I am really, because I always enjoy fighting against General Dan. But this is going to be a tough game for the French. So let's have a look what I've got to command to take on the evil alliance of the 3rd Coalition. Oh, I should also, sorry, but quickly before I go, I'm just going to zoom in on this lovely staff team here. So there we go. These guys are going to give the Russian CNC a reroll. What I decided to do, if you've not seen the Wednesday video, is I offered Dan the chance to have either an Austrian commander or a Russian commander, and he chose a Russian commander. And what we're going to say is that he can only use his reroll on the Russian brigade commanders, but once per game he can use his staff team and use his CNC reroll on one of his Austrian commanders. So that's it for the Allied army. Let's go back and we'll have a look at the French. So these are the French forces, fresh from their training camps at Bologna. They're marched into what's now the Czech Republic, and they are bringing death to the hated Austrians and Russians. Not really, they just want to be left alone. I don't know what the hell's wrong with these people, I don't know. Anyway, so to start off, we have a brigade of 6 battalions. These are made up of 3 regiments, one of which is a Leger regiment, and then we've got 2 line regiments. There we go. So 6 battalions altogether. These guys will be starting on the board. We're going to have a look at the battlefield in a second. And they have an attached battery of artillery. We're using 2 guns per battery in this game. The reinforcements are the brigade here. There are 2 regiments of 2 battalions here, and they are led by your boy Van Damme. There he is at the front there, well, at the side really. He is going to lead these guys to glory, to massacre the Russians. Dan's rolling his eyes at me, and he is right to do so. So, also helping Van Damme in the destruction of the enemy is a brigade of dragoons. Now these guys at the front there, those red dragoons in the middle, they're not quite as well painted as I imagined that they were. Never mind, I'm going to have to go back and do some work on those later. We'll stick with some long shots of those. And behind them, these guys will arrive to close out the battle, hopefully, or maybe stop the massacre of the survivors. We have a heavy cavalry brigade made up of 3 regiments of Kraziers, one of which looks like some time-travelling carabineers. But there you go. Who really cares? Actually, I should have probably finished my carabineers in time for this, but never mind, I didn't get time to finish them, so apologies about that. But there we go, that's the French army. This is going to be bringing death to the enemies of the newly crowned emperor, and we will show you the battlefield in 2 seconds. So this is the battlefield. You will see that there are no lime green boards. I've had enough complaints about that to finally retire them. I'm actually using this quite nice throw that I got from, I think, Amazon or possibly eBay. But this is the battlefield. We are using a 12-foot by... Sorry, no, we are using a 8-foot wide and 6-foot deep board. And I am showing you from the French board edge here. On the left, we have a village. That is one of the objectives for the Austro-Russians to capture. And on the right of the board, we have a crossroads, well, a sort of Y section. That is their second objective. If they can capture both of those, then the third coalition will win, and if they capture one, it will be a draw. Neither is a French victory. The game will last 6 turns, with potential to go to a 7th, depending on time, and if it's still in the balance after turn 6. We'll decide that when we get to it. But I'm going to zoom in, and we'll have a look at the positioning of the units, because as you can see, on the right-hand side of the board, nothing is going on at the moment, but I'm fairly sure that will come congested a bit later on. So we're here on the French positions. They currently control the village. They have a battalion of light infantry in there, and the 2nd battalion are formed to the right of the village. They are in deep line, so they will only be able to roll 2 dice when shooting instead of the 3, but they will still re-roll 1 because they are sharp shooters. Behind them are 3 battalions forming the rest of the brigade, and on the other side of the river there is another battalion and some artillery on a small rise, and they will be hoping to fire at the Austro-Russians. Let's skip over, because we've got the Russian and Austrian advance guard here. We've got the 2 battalions of musketeers, one behind the other, with their commander. He's looking like he's very eager to order them forward. And next to them, we've got the dragoons. So let's see what can happen. From turn 1, we will be rolling for the rest of the Russians to see if they turn up. And from turn 3, that's when the action's really going to kick off. But these preliminary movements are going to be crucial to see how the situation lands and the reinforcements arrive. So that was the end of such a cataclysmic first turn. I'm not even sure I can find the words to describe it. You can see the advance guard of the Russians and Austrians there. They failed their first command roll and did not move. And the reinforcements also failed and did not move either. So that was good for them. And here you can see a gap where there was once the 2nd Battalion of the 3rd Leger. They have moved, tactically I would say, all the way back here. They rolled double 6 for their order, which was to advance 1, form line and blast at those dragoons. They rolled a double 6 and then a 1, and they scooted all the way back here. So not a very productive first turn. The artillery fired. They needed a 6 to hit the cavalry in cover. They rolled a 2. So no good there. We're out of musket range. That's the end of turn 1 for the French. It's not been a bad turn because I just need to hold out. But it looks like we might be needing that turn 7 after all. So that's the end of turn 2. I'm going to actually do the French first, even though they went second. All I did was move the infantry back up a little bit and plug the gap where the light infantry were. There was far more action on the 3rd Coalition side of the table, as the 2 battalions of Russians moved forward, the first one firing. They did get a hit on the light infantry in the village, but I managed to save it. Also, the reserves for the Russians came on. We've got the Prehevinsky Grenadiers. I mean, they're really the just a regular line Grenadier regiment here, but they're super awesome for this one. We've got the Pavlovskis, and then we've got the rest of the brigade behind, including the general himself and the staff team out there in the corn. The cavalry failed their roll to move forward, but the attack begins. The Russians are going to try and weasel the French out at the point of a bayonet. Well, that was turn Well, that was turn 3 for the Triple Alliance for the Third Coalition, and it saw the Austrians take to the field over here on the left-hand side of the Allied lines. Here on the right, not a huge amount happened. The Grenadiers moved forward one move, but the battalion at the front who were to assault the town, they failed their roles. So unfortunately, nothing quite happened there. They're just out of initiative move range. For the French, they moved a battalion to fill that gap, and... No, they didn't. That was the previous turn, didn't they? Your boy Van Damme, he rolled to turn up, and... he rolled a 6-6, and he blundered. So he is nowhere to be seen. Following his blunder, I then had this battalion here to move in front of the artillery and protect them from those Austrians over there. Oh, scary Austrians. He rolled a 6-6, and they retired off the board. So they came all the way back here off the board. So that's 4 dice rolls, 4 6s so far. So, normally pretty good, but not great here. Then, the light infantry in the village, they fired at that front battalion. They rolled 2 dice. I said 3 is a bit too much, because they're obviously garrisoning the village. They rolled 2 dice, rolled 6-6. So 6 dice rolled, 6 6s. That's pretty good going. I should head down to the casino after this, I think. But, so they have caused a wound and disordered that front Russian battalion. And the cannon also fired at the Austrians. Now, the Austrians are currently in column of attack, but because this is 1805, again, if you've watched the video on Wednesday, you'll see that we're not really allowing them to do that, so they are actually in column of march. Dan's very much looking forward to moving them into line when he gets to that point, I am sure. But there we go, a good turn for the Allies, but the fly in the ointment is that disordered battalion at the front there. But let's see how it goes on Allied turn 4. So here we are at the end of turn 4. The Third Coalition, they had an excellent turn with the infantry moving forward. This unit at the front was disordered, so they couldn't really do much, but they enveloped around the flank there. The cavalry here, they rolled a 1-1. They charged out of the wheat field, down the road, forced these guys into square. Using the remainder of their movement, they crossed the ford, destroyed the artillery, and then fell back. They did take heavy casualties from the artillery, though. They only have 1 point of stamina remaining. On the left, the Austrians advanced in an echelon formation. They're doing quite cool over there. They had an empty field in front of them. However, what's that I see in the distance? It's your boy Van Damme. He brought his troops on finally. Now, that big dragoon-shaped hole there is because the Dragoon Commander rolled a 9, so he didn't bring anyone on. So that's a bit of a shame. But Van Damme did bring his troops on here. He brought his artillery, who fired over at the Dragoons, but they did nothing. Over here, the square fired at the Russians in front of them, did nothing. And the light infantry in the village caused another casualty, but no disorders. So General Dan has complete free reign in his turn. I'm sure he's going to be bringing death and pain to the French. Let's see how it goes for the Third Coalition's turn 5. Well, that was the end of turn 5, and it was a tumultuous turn, shall we say. The Russians advanced towards this square, which is now shaken out into deep line, and they exchanged musketry, with the French coming off slightly better. In the centre, the French Dragoons finally made an appearance, but this hole here, that Cuirassier-shaped hole, they did not. Van Damme, he launched his troops forward into an assault on the Austrians, and they won the combat, but the Austrians stood. Over here, on the the right of the Austrian line, the Russians again exchanged some fire with the light infantry in the village. They became disordered, though. So it's looking pretty good for the French at the moment. I'm not going to lie, I'm looking pretty at the moment. I'm just going to move around to the other side of the table. There's Dan quickly shoveling his disordered marker on there. This is what it looks like from the other side of the hill. That is still a lot of Austrians. I'm not happy about the amount of Austrians there, and there's still their Cuirassier brigade to come as well. So let's see how it goes going into turn 6. I can tell you now, we are going to take this game into a turn 7, and let's see how it goes. I just wanted to cut back in and say that here the Austrians were caught in column of march. General Dan has been trying to form line, but his dice rolling has not been quite high enough. I think Van Damme's aggression caught him by surprise, though, and that's why that French column, the Austrian column, didn't do as well as perhaps you might have expected. I think with the amount of troops who are in initiative range, though, he's going to shake these guys out into line, and I think it's going to be a lot more difficult going forward. So here we are at the end of turn 6, and it's looking like the French have put up a fairly decent defence. They have pushed through on the right-hand side with Van Damme's brigade, destroying a battalion of Austrian infantry, but they were forced to fall back because I don't think they could attack on their own. In the centre here, the Austrians have managed to shake out into line. Now, they could do a last-minute dash for the intersection, so I need to be careful about that one. But over here, the Dragoons charged, the Austrian Dragoons that is, and they were defeated by the French Dragoons, who fell back with only 1 hit point remaining. So it was a noble sacrifice. I think Dan made the right move there with his advanced guard Dragoons to try and take out one of my units out of the game. I think that was a fairly decent move from him there. On the left-hand side, the French charged the Russian infantry, but they were shaken by the closing fire, and that meant that the battle here, the melee was a draw, and over here, the Musketeer Battalion are still being held off by the lights in the village. So it's looking, he's got 1 turn to get them in now. You know, it only takes 1 good turn, and he could capture the village, but it's looking at the moment like it's not too terrible for the French, but let's see how it goes. I should say as well that Dan has chosen to leave his cuirassiers in reserve, which will garner him a victory point. There's not really much they can do at the moment. I brought my cuirassiers on here on the right flank, but Dan's left them back, and they will be available later in the campaign to defeat the French heavies, and that means that I'm going to say that it's fair enough to give him a victory point for that. I think it was a right strategic, if not the right tactical move. So I've not done much cutting in yet, but we're going to do it for turn 7. This is the final Austrian Hail Mary. This infantry battalion here needs 2 moves to move to the crossroads and contest for the objective. Now, General Dan has rolled his first command roll, and he rolled a 9, which was too high. They did not move. However, he is sacrificing his staff team here. He's going to roll it again. What's he going to roll? He's going to roll a 5, which is more than enough. So, the staff team gets nuked to something. I don't really know what happens to staff team in this situation. But his infantry battalion with 5 is going to be able to make 2 moves. That is 2 below his strategy rating. And they are going to be able to move on to the intersection. So, it's all going to come down to this. Can he snatch a draw from the jaws of defeat? Let's find out in French turn 7. It looks to me like I misspoke because I'm cutting it again on Austria turn 7. This is all the Hail Marys. The battalion here has dropped back. Okay, 1 move and charge for this battalion here. General Dan rolls, and he rolls a 10. Oh, no good this time. So it looks like the best the Austrians can do is a draw here, but I think that would actually probably be a strategic loss for the French if the Austrians managed to hold that intersection on the corner there, because really, they had this in the bag. So let's see how it goes on the rest of the Austrian turn. So here we are at the end of Austrian turn 7, and you can see on the left of the French line, the Russians, however I say Austrian, it should be see, I keep saying Triple Alliance. The Third Coalition forces have pushed back the French infantry battalion there. So they are now surrounding the village, although there's a lot of French reserves, so I don't really fancy their chances very much, I have to say. But we are, remember, over here on the intersection. The Austrians control that at the moment. Let's see what the French can do to try and throw them off. They've got assets in the area, but it's just a question of whether I can bring them to bear and get those Austrians out of the way. General Dan tried to move this Austrian battalion here up over the hill. You probably can't see it from this angle, but let me get down to a soldier's eye view. I get my thumb in the way because I'm a super professional. And there we go. So they tried to get them over the crest of the hill, but he failed his roll. So they unfortunately didn't quite manage that. And as it is, General Van Damme, he had his right-hand battalion shaken, so they won't be able to move. but there's no keeping this guy down. The muscles from Brussels, he will be attacking next turn, I'm absolutely sure. So that's the end of the Austrian turn 7. It's looking like they could secure a draw, but it's going to be up to the French commander, that's me, to decide whether it's going to be a glorious victory for the Emperor on the 1-year anniversary of him crowning himself, or if it's going to be just a minor draw / French victory, because draws count as victories when you're French. Stung by General Dan's criticism that I'm not practicing what I preach and playing too defensively with the French, this battalion from Van Damme's division, let me get my tape measure ready, is within 12 inches of the enemy battalion. Let me just swap hands and show you. So there we go, well within range. So they are going to assault on initiative move. Now, this is what I've been talking about when I talk about how good Austrian infantry are in defence. General Dan is about to roll 5 dice closing fire. Now, he's hitting me on 3s, so let's see how he does. Absolutely appallingly, that's no hits at all. Clearly, the reputation of General Van Damme has terrified the Austrians, and that battalion closes in. That's absolutely incredible dice rolling, ladies and gentlemen, live on camera, so you know I'm not making it up. Wow, wow. Well, that is the end of turn 7, and it would appear that it's a draw, but I would argue possibly a winning draw for the French. So the Austrians have been forced to form square by initiative moves from the cavalry here. So they are off the intersection, and they are rather isolated on their own there. But the mission was to be on the intersection, and that's where they are. So I think that's fair enough. I tried to roll for this unit to turn and form line and pour fire into these guys, but they failed the roll. So fair enough, it's just one of those things. Over here, Van Damme's infantry battalion smashed through the Austrians, their poor musketry being clearly evident of their low morale. They lost the combat, rolled a 3, and they exploded. That Austrian commander on his own there, he is very shortly to be presented to the Emperor in handcuffs, because he is a prisoner. And General Dan's laughing in exasperation at me right now. Over here on the left, the Russians piled through the gap here. They destroyed the French battalion. They forced them off the field, and then they fell back in good order. So I think it's safe to say that strategically, the Austrians aren't in a terrible situation. They've not had a huge amount of casualties. The cuirassiers stayed off the table, so that's fair enough. I tried to move these cuirassiers up here, and they failed. So I would say that if I was going to give it as a percentage win, I would say it's probably 60-40 to the French. The Austrians and the Russians haven't lost too many casualties, neither have the French, but the Austrians have got a presence on the crossroads here, but they have singularly failed to take the village over on the left. So I do think it's a French victory, but the fact that strategically the Austrians are still in a reasonably good position means that for the campaign, for the upcoming Battle of Austerlitz, we're not going to be recording it on this channel, but imagine there is an upcoming Battle of Austerlitz, I think the forces of the Third Coalition are going to be in pretty good shape. Now, that's the end of the battle. Thank you very much for watching so far. I'm going to have some stills that I've taken throughout the battle. I'm probably going to park them on the end, so if you want to stick around for them, thank you very much. What I do also want to say is thank you very much to General Dan for putting up with me. It is much appreciated. And, thank you all for watching, and I will see you for the after-action report, which is not something I've done before, but we're going to start doing that. That's going to be the Wednesday video next week, and I hope to see you guys all then. Thank you very much, and goodbye.